We are
Sweet.
live. It is
Awesome.
working. All right. I will kick us off. So, secrets to success in 2025. My name is Roy Kirchner. I appreciate every single person attending today. A little bit of background on me is I am a serial entrepreneur. I have one of the fastest growing companies in Tampa Bay. I do 3D printing, additive manufacturing, along with have an AI video business that I'm getting off the cuff. So, and some other things. So I look forward to giving you secrets truly of a serial entrepreneur of growing and continuing to gain success in day to day, week to week, month to month, and year to year life. I'm going to pass it off to John.
Hey, thank you for joining us. If you get a chance, check out my LinkedIn profile, John D. Hanson. Because one thing I really want to encourage you with, if your business plan didn't go according to plan, and that's happened to me multiple times where curveballs have gotten
Gain
thrown at me. But the
success
one thing
in
that's been
day to day.
consistent is that over time, I built my network online and in person to the size that it is today. And it took time to do that. But what that's brought to me as an entrepreneur is it's given me the opportunity to pursue connections and conversations and opportunities around the world that I wouldn't have had otherwise. So my sexiness is consistency. If you stay with something and you just keep investing into it over time, it pays off in results no matter what life throws at you. And there are going to be curveballs along the way. So that LinkedIn profile is a testament to you can build something of great value. It'll take a little bit of time. It'll take a lot of consistency, but it's totally worth it. So check out my LinkedIn profile and pass it off to Spencer.
Yeah, my name is Spencer Beaudreault. I'm a digital marketing expert. I'm the co-founder and partner at the Flying Goat Agency, one of the newest agencies in Tampa, Florida. We're quickly growing, and yeah, I'm looking forward to kicking this thing off and sharing some good nuggets.
Back to you, Roy.
Awesome. Sounds great. So first secret to success that I'd like you to understand is the motivation of getting up in the morning. So one of the most important things about getting up in the morning is your mindset. So a hack, I guess a trick is, I get up super early. I get up before anybody else. I would try to get up before anybody else in the house, right? And the first thing I would recommend you doing if you don't have self motivation is definitely turn on YouTube and just put in motivational videos, right? And start listening to like Matthew McConaughey or Denzel Washington or really anybody that can give you some motivation because what it's about, right, is then when you connect, you have that human to human connection, the first human connection that you have that day, you're already in this great mindset and you're going to push that energy off onto somebody else. And that's the great thing. So if I get up and I listen to that and then my wife wakes up, bam, right? The first thing, hey, sweetie, I'm like, it's just that energy flows. And that is one of the most important things is starting every single day, not some days. Start every single day where you pump yourself up and you give yourself motivation, right? So I mean that's where I'm going to start out, and then I'll push it on to John, and we'll keep on going around.
Now, before I take over, some people might think it looks like Roy is in a hallway. And it's true. You are broadcasting from on site at a very cool place. Before I answer your question and take it, I want you to share with people where you're at and why you took some time out of it to join us.
Yeah, so I am in Orlando, Florida. I am at Podfest Expo. It's I think the second largest podcasting conference in the United States. It's going on from like Wednesday to Sunday. And I'm super excited. Like, listen, I am 100%. I learned a long time ago to be a life student, to continue to always learn and grow and find as many smart people as I can that are smarter than me. And right now I'm trying to find that in the podcasting world because I'm looking to start doing a podcast and grow that. But so I'm literally trying to learn. And then if there's somebody that's really successful with podcasting, it's like I want to drag them into like one of the conference rooms that nobody else is in, duct tape them to a chair and try to suck it out of their brain, because I just want to, I want to know as much as I can about this industry and how to be successful. So I'm learning. And right now it's great. I took some time out to do this. But there's a lot when it comes into podcasting, and a lot of people actually fail within the first year, or they give up. So it's really good to find mentors, and that's really what I'm looking for in the podcast space, that I can bounce ideas off of, or I can understand things, because I'd never fail. I don't want to fail at anything, so I literally want to try. The most important thing is to become an SME, a subject matter expert on what you're doing. So I'm spending a lot of time, effort, and consideration learning this side of it. But go ahead, John.
Yeah, so anybody tuning in on the LinkedIn side, hey, if you've got a podcast or you know somebody that does, that's on entrepreneurialism, on sales, on business growth, contact Roy. Get a hold of him on LinkedIn, and I know that he'd be happy to be a guest. Makes for a great conversation. The time flies. We've had multiple conversations, and these live conversations fly too. So I'd highly recommend, if you're looking for a guest for your podcast, then by all means connect someone with Roy. He's going to be a great guest for your show. I'm going to stick with the how you start your morning, Roy, because I think that's a great theme, and it really does make a difference on how you start your day. Years ago, I started something called gratitudes, meaning when I'm pulling out of the driveway, I list a minimum of 3 things that I'm grateful for from the day before. They have to be fresh. If I use one that I've been grateful for before that doesn't count to my 3 minimum, I can have more than 3, but I got to have at least 3 things that I'm grateful for from the very day before. And that accomplishes 2 things. One, it starts my day off with a gratitude mindset, which is already a game changer because it frames my day in gratefulness. But the second thing it does, because I'm framing my day in gratefulness, I'm going to be looking for, I'm going to be expecting, I'm going to be anticipating things that are going to unfold throughout my day that I am going to keep track of, because tomorrow I'm going to ask myself the same question. What are you grateful for that happened yesterday? So I'm training myself to look for the things and keep in mind subconsciously what I'm grateful for. And that changes, it helps, because especially in those times when I told you one curveball after another, it didn't go according to plan. You've probably had days like that. This frames my day that no matter what transpired the day before or what my day looks like now, no matter what kind of pressures I've got going on, I can always start my day with gratitude. And I'll give you one more reason why. David Horsager, Horsager, he has something called the Trust Institute. I heard him speak live at a San Diego conference a few years ago, and he said the number one attribute of attracting people is gratitude. If you're a grateful person, it's a highly attractive quality. Imagine that. It makes sense. When you're around people who are grateful, don't you want to be around more people like that? I mean, unless you're one of those chronic complainers that's always complaining and looking for other people who do. But if you're one of those positive people like I am, I'm looking for grateful people. And when you're around them, they earn trust more quickly. And it's a more attractive personal quality. So start your day off with gratitude. It's been a game changer for me, and it's built into my life now. But I'm going to kick it over to Spencer. You don't have to stick with the theme, or you can, but I'm curious to hear where you're going to go. Founder of the Flying Goat. Best marketing names I can think of.
I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I love the whole gratitude piece. It's super important, especially, when you're a business owner and entrepreneur that goes through a lot more struggles than maybe your traditional 9-to-5 person, right? So it's very important to stick with that theme of gratitude. And then Roy, like with the whole, that's my jam too, right? The motivational podcasts, watching those videos, listening to those, like audiobooks, whatever it is, that just speaks positivity and growth-minded, thoughts into you. So I listened to one not too long ago, I think it was yesterday, with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I think it's him on stage, speaking about, his growth and how he kind of came along. And everybody, for the most part knows that story. But he spoke something from Ted Turner, and he said, work your ass off. Work your ass off in your business, then advertise. Advertise. And I love, it's very simple, but when he said that, it clicked for me somehow, and it I love those motivational podcasts and listen to that type of stuff because it always builds me up. One of the things that I want to touch on today for a morning routine isn't necessarily something that maybe you could be doing. It's what I think you should not be doing, and it's something that I'm guilty of. And one of those things is, first thing in the morning when you wake up, you're opening your phone and you're checking your emails and you're checking Instagram and you're scrolling and you kind of, consuming yourself with just a bunch of nonsense, not necessarily with the emails, but, let's say, you're a business owner and, the first thing you do is open up your emails and, you have to put out fires, right? Like people are giving you problems to solve, and then your mind just immediately, before you can even wake up and breathe and like ease into the day, you're already thinking about how you can put out these fires. And if you have a family, if you have a spouse, if you have a partner, they can feel that. And it's very hard on them, it's very hard on you, and it's not the most optimal way to start the day, in my opinion. So that's something that I've been really trying to break away from, that habit, because it is a habit, right? We're just so accustomed to just doing it like without even thinking, right? First thing I do, grab my phone, press snooze or shut off the alarm, and then like open, I start scrolling, right? So I think that's one thing that a lot of people do that you should just be mindful of, and start practicing other habits that are more beneficial to start your day.
Yeah, I'm working on breaking that one too, Spencer, right there with you.
It's very hard.
Yeah.
I think one of my next biggest nuggets that I would give to people is I want you to understand a little bit of background on me. I graduated high school with a fourth grade reading level. Really couldn't read or write when I graduated high school. And everybody kind of told me I wasn't going to be nothing. I was stupid. And, the beautiful thing is I ended up getting into the car business and started selling cars, right? And when I'm selling cars to people, I found very successful people, and I was really good at communicating with people, and I was really good at taking care of people. So if somebody came in to buy a car and they owned a dry cleaning store, they were like, Roy, you made, like, I hate buying a car, but like, it was so seamless with you. I'm going to give you 6 months free dry clean. Guy is a plumber. He came in, and I sold him a car. And he's like, Roy, man, if I can ever do you a favor, if your pipes burst at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll get out of bed and I'll come fix it. You know what I mean? Had a guy that owned a restaurant. He says, Roy, you got a nice date. You want to bring her in? I'll roll out the red carpet. He's like, you're definitely going to impress her, So I felt that I was connecting to people. But one of the beautiful things that I realized in selling cars is people fill out an application. They tell you where they live, how long they've lived there, what their mortgage payment is. They tell you where they work, how long they've worked there, and how much money they make. And when I found a successful person, I said, listen, I'm going to sell you a car, but you got to do me a favor. And they're like, what's that? And I said, you got to pretend like I'm your kid. And they're like, huh? And I said, you got to bring me to work one day, because if you're this successful, I got to become this successful. I want to become this successful. And I found mentorship, right? I found that mentorship along the way. And I ended up becoming successful. I grew in 2021 to the sixth fastest growing company in Tampa Bay. In 2021, I grew 392%. It's all from never giving up. And I think what I really want people to understand is there's two things I think that can just give you the most secret to success. And one is just pretend that it never existed, the word quit. Don't ever know that you need to quit something, right? And then the next is become a life student, right? Always continue to grow and learn and never, ever stop. So no matter what job you're in, the first thing is you have to love what you do every single day. If you don't love what you do, you need to stop. Like, because life is short. Like, you literally need to find something that you truly enjoy. And then when you find something you truly enjoy, always continue to improve yourself on that. And people say, well, what do you mean by like continue to improve myself? Well, become an SME, become a subject matter expert on that exact thing that you're doing every single day that you actually love. So get get up early, find a mentor, read a book, listen to a podcast on the subject, learn every single day on that exact thing that you're doing so that you can become an expert on it and it can bring you to the next level, right? And there's nothing better than learning something you actually love. So it's constantly overcoming obstacles and never quitting because, and I say the word quit, please understand this, like the amount of times I've failed in my life, the amount of times I've failed is way more than I've succeeded. I just need people to know that. Like, and I just didn't quit. Like, I mean, I went through it all, inside out. Like, it felt like everything was against me, but I never quit. I kept on pushing myself through. And I think that is one of the biggest secrets to success, right? John, I'll kick it over to you, my friend.
Yeah, man, the three nuggets you're talking about there, just totally in line with what I've experienced as well. The power of mentorship. I added a business mentor in my life in 2019. Super successful guy. He was 3 levels down from Jamie Dimon at Chase, and his next promotion was going to take him overseas, 24/7, 365 job, away from family. And he said, no, it's not worth it to me. So he stepped away from that to start his own CFO firm. Respect him highly for that. Then he's a 6-time world record holder for powerlifting. You wouldn't know what to look at the guy. Down to earth, got a nationally broadcast radio show that I've been on as a guest multiple times. We had a 4-hour conversation. We met for coffee the first time, and he has just helped me from that point on. Good friend, but really helped me transform my business because he worked on confidence, belief. He didn't come and say, all right, John, we're going to work on this. This is what happened because I spent the time with him. And the difference between mentor and coach, because I have both in my life. A mentor is someone that you say, I really respect what you've achieved. Would you be willing to give me an hour of your time once a month where we meet? I'll treat you to coffee, lunch, but I really want to ask you a lot of questions. That lifelong learning you talked about, Roy, that's where you go in as a student and say, share with me best practices, what not to do, what you learn, what you see within me that could be a good next best step. How do I set goals and achieve them? People like that. Most people who are highly successful, a lot of people are trying to tap into them for their network, for their money, but hardly anybody's approaching them to learn from them. And I can tell you firsthand that I have had more people say, yes, so would you give me an hour of your time because I'd like to learn from you. And when you do show up and there's no pitch, there's no sale, there's no, hey, who can you connect me with? It's question after question after question. You're going to wear them out with questions because you want to know. And that feeds right into the always learning. That to me is a non-negotiable. If I'm going to be working potentially with a business, I'm looking to see, are they a curious business? And I can tell by the questions they ask. If they're not asking questions, they're not curious. It's the curious companies that innovate. It's the curious ones that are up front of something before it becomes mainstream and obvious. They're early adopters and innovators. Curious companies are led by curious people, and that's an invaluable trait. Always learning. Yeah, I've been learning since I was a kid, but I didn't start applying it towards my professional career, my business, till much later in my life, and I'm so glad I did. Mentors are a cheat code. So are coaches. I've had the privilege of working with multiple coaches that have really taken my business each time I've worked with one to another level. And then the last one you touched on about the never quitting, about that grit to just stay with it. Angela Duckworth wrote a great book called Grit, and she did a study on West Point cadets, and what she found was that the number one attribute of ones who were most likely to graduate and become an officer in the U.S. Armed Forces was not their strength, it wasn't their athleticism, it wasn't their background or their education, it was their grit. Did they stick with something? That was the number one attribute. And I want to say one more thing that you talked about. The people that I interviewed for the book I released back in 23, Winning Secrets, How a Dictionary and a Ruler Can Change Your Life. These are highly successful business people across the home state of Ohio. And I had to limit it to Ohio, or I'd be talking to people the rest of my life and never write the book. So I had to limit it to Ohio. Most of these people you never heard of before, but highly successful business people. And the one common thread in all of them, Roy and Spencer, was that they did not equal failure as a loss. It was a learning experience. It was part of the process of figuring out what worked. And they never equated it to quitting. Quitting wasn't an option. Then when you look at people who are highly successful that everybody knows, that are famous, their story didn't start off with instant success. They had to figure it out, hear more no's than they heard yeses when they started off. But they stuck with it. The opposite of winning at life is not failure. The opposite of winning at life is giving up. Because as long as you're trying and learning, you're progressing. And you're ahead of those that aren't trying at all. And you're ahead of those that will try for a little bit and then stop. So the mentorship, coaching, the always learning, and that grit and understanding that failure is a part of the process. One more thing I'll say before I turn it back over to Spencer. James Dyson, who invented the vacuum cleaner and other products too, to get the vacuum cleaner right, it took him 5,000 iterations in 5 years. It took him that long to get the vacuum cleaner figured out. But he knew, if I get the engine of this figured out, then I can make other stuff off it too. Hand dryers, hair dryers. He's working on jet engines now. But it took him 5 years and 5,000 attempts to get the vacuum cleaner right. I wouldn't have stuck with it that long because I'm not passionate about vacuum cleaners. But he was, and it's paid off. So I loved your points, and I'm curious to hear what Spencer's got to his own take or on these three things, or just what's contributed to your success perhaps in these areas.
I love the topic of a mentor for sure. And that's my mentor right there. Rest in peace, Dr. Jeff Watson. He passed away about roughly 2 years ago in a freak, flash flood accident in the narrow canyons in Utah, Arizona. And Dr. Watson was an orthopedic surgeon and an entrepreneur. He was our CEO for our cannabis company out in Las Vegas called Los Canna. He kind of saw what I was doing in the personal training space and how I was incorporating, hemp and CBD and cannabis and kind of what I was doing on social media. And he really liked that. He caught wind of that and he brought me under his wing, right? He built me up in so many different ways. Taught me how to structure business, how to invest money, how to, move money, how to, build people up. And one of the most valuable things that I learned from him, with him being as successful as he was that he spent quite a bit of time with the people that he did business with, not necessarily just talking about business. Like, it was a lot of just bro time. And that nugget that I took from him, it was eye-opening because I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, no, we need to talk about business. We need to, focus on this. Like, what's the goal? Like, how can we get better? Blah, blah, blah. But when you do that, you almost kind of exhaust the whole process. And people, gravitate towards people. So if you're able to really build the right relationships and have these good times and good experiences and, let's go out to dinner, let's have some drinks, let's, have a good time, let's smile together, let's, create memories. That is what really, made people kind of glue together and stick around. And he was such a master of his craft and how he helped bring people together. When he passed and, we had his celebration of life, everybody, it was a collective, like a common denominator for everybody that, he was such a skilled person at connecting everybody and gluing them together, right? Like, he would call me, he would call a couple other buddies where, I might not go hang out with those people, but he brought us all together and we loved our company and we made moves and did some great things. So, that I will forever be grateful for the time that I was able to spend with him because he was such an amazing mentor and taught me so much and literally expedited my growth and built me up to where I'll forever be grateful. So, like we said last week, like I'll say now, if you have the opportunity to go out and seek some type of mentorship it can be the one thing that really changes your life, and it changed my life. So, hopefully I can motivate you to go out and actually take action on that, because I believe it can really change your life.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Two things I'd say for people tuning in. We would love to, if you got questions, put them in the chat. We've got Joseph as our wingman that's going to be catching those for us and letting us know what the questions are. We're going to save time on the back end to answer those. We'd love to hear what those are. Or just share maybe your story with us. We'll be able to read those comments when we're done with the live, and we're curious to hear what those are. Plus, if you're open to it, put in what state or country you're tuning in from. We'd love to know kind of where you're encountering us, and by all means, all of us are active on LinkedIn. We'd love to connect or follow. So by all means, reach out to us that way. We'd love to hear your feedback and your questions, where you're tuning in from. And then, let's follow each other on LinkedIn, or even connect, because we appreciate entrepreneurial, growth-minded people. So, Roy, what would you say would you kick off with another kind of another nugget for your growth?
Yeah, I think the other part, and I always like to bring this up because I think it kind of I think some people get really, really confused when you say the word mentorship, right? Or they say immediately, like, how do I find a mentor? Yeah, that's
Right.
great, like a mentor, but how do I find a mentor?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit. And Spencer hit on one thing that I think is extremely important for people to understand about mentorship, right? Is I asked people to give me their time, so that I could learn from them. And some of them said no, right? They actually said
Right.
no to me, like, I don't have time for you, right? And the difference is when you find the right one, it's that collaboration. So what Spence had with the gentleman that was mentoring him is the
Yeah.
gentleman wanted to see him succeed as much as he
Yep.
wanted to succeed. It's a two-way street. So you can't just like grab a CEO or somebody that is extremely successful and have them, and I'm just being honest, have them pour into you and nothing's coming back. They like, and or they give you advice and you don't take the advice, right?
Right.
So you gotta, because then all it does is frustrate. You're like taking our time, and time is money, right?
Yep.
The number one thing about growing and succeeding is every minute of the day you have to put a dollar amount to. Every minute, every 10 minutes, every 20 minutes, every 30 minutes. Your time is valuable. Anybody in this world, their time is valuable, right? And you have to, in your mind, you have to say, my time is valuable. So if I'm taking the time out to help somebody, right, I want to know that I'm really helping them, right? That they're really listening to what I have to say, because I could just be I could be growing another business, or I could be getting my business stronger. But I want to take that time because I think entrepreneurship or growing, seeing people grow is the true success, right? We want to see people become better in life, right? And we want to see the next generation succeed, or we want to see people that are tripping or falling or just feel like they can't get to the next level. We want to see them get to the next level, right? So when you go and you're trying to find a mentor, you gotta literally go all over. You gotta find somebody, right, through networking or through a friend of a friend, or even even your who runs your company, your manager. Ask him, where do I go? You start really asking, and then understand that you have to find somebody that truly you connect with. Because if you connect with them, that awesome connection, right? That unbelievable connection, it's going to help you tremendously, right? When you can pour into somebody and they're actually listening, and then you start seeing them progress and grow. There's nothing more exciting than that, right? So we want to look at that, and then just truly respect people's time that is giving you mentorship, right? Because we want that. But a lot of it is people say, well, where do I go? How do I find a mentor? There's a couple different ways, right? You can buy a mentor. You can buy somebody's time, right? And the number one thing I would say is, if you're buying somebody's time, and this is the biggest, make sure their resume is 100%. There is a lot of fake people out there. Do not get advice from somebody that is not truly successful. Like, make sure. Like, I'm successful. I have employees. I have a building. You can come see it. I have plenty of stuff like awards, recognitions. Like, I've done it in, it's there in writing by major news outlets. But I'm just being honest. Like, don't get advice from somebody that has not all, that's not, that shouldn't have the privilege of giving you advice. So find and make sure, and especially if you're paying for it, make sure that they're really qualified to give you that advice. They've actually done it, because I just see, unfortunately, sometimes fake people out there. And in this whole thing that we're doing, this LinkedIn Live every week, is to help people, right? And to help people grow and become bigger, stronger, better. And this is why we want to give you this advice, right? And in the advice is for anybody. Like, I mean, the knowledge game is the most unbelievable thing in the world, right? Is the knowledge game. So if somebody's already done it, like, I started 3D printing. I started my company in 2015, and now it's 2025. I've been doing it 10 years. But I can tell you, in 2016, if a guy came to me and says, Roy, I know everything about 3D printing, and every mistake that you're gonna make, I could help you not make, and I could help you like a business consultant, like, I would have took it. But the problem is 3D printing was so new, it didn't exist, right? I got into a technology that's true entrepreneurship. There was no policies, procedures, manuals. Shoot, there's no school for this. Like, 3D printing, there's still no school for it. So it's kind of crazy that way. So I just say, like, really look at that, and then I'm going to kick it over to John, and we'll keep on pushing more and more success in things. But we really, it's about positivity, man. You gotta look and see where you're at now and where you want to go. Right?
One more thing on the the mentor side. You know,
Yeah, man.
in my experience too, you know, especially with Jeff, it was crazy because he kind of sought me out. Like, I didn't even seek him out. So I don't know if like with what I was doing with my work ethic and how driven I am and how much, like, you know, you could be a really driven person too, but like, if you're not showing that too, then nobody really knows, right? And I think, you know, social media is a really powerful tool in that regard, right? Like I got very lucky because he sought me out. He always texted me, always called me, invited me into his office, brought me on trips, like the whole nine, and really helped build me up. So I think, like, you know, we're talking about one side, you know, to where, you know, my advice, you know, for somebody seeking out mentorship or a mentor is, you know, make yourself a valuable person that they would want to mentor, right? You know, and you be the judge and how that is actually accomplished, but, you know, make yourself a valuable person that they would love to mentor. And then I think there's also a reverse side to it too. You know, if you are somebody that is successful, build people up, right? Just like Jeff did for me. You know, I did whatever I could to help him and whatever I was kind of attached to every business that he was attached to, and I was helping him and he was helping me, and it was like this, you know, this give and take on both sides that was awesome. So, you know, if you are somebody that's in that position and, you know, you see something valuable in somebody, you know, it's highly valuable to also, you know, build people up, right? So there's kind of that flip side. But John, back to you.
Yeah. No, I love that. You know, the whole idea of I came through mine was through a recommendation of, I'm looking to add a business mentor, but I don't just want to add anybody. So an executive coach friend of mine said, you should check out this person. Look at his content first. It helped that he had a podcast, so I could kind of get a feel for his content and his brand before we met. So I was able to kind of vet him out on social media. You talked about social proof, Roy. That's huge, right? Social media can do a really good job of building somebody up, but if there isn't anything else behind that as well, then it could just be a really good social media campaign manager, and there isn't really any substance behind it. It helped that Ken had multiple areas of social proof, and that really gave me a measure of confidence going into the conversation. Plus, it was a first-hand recommendation from somebody I also respected and trusted. So, yeah, no matter how you find them, if you can especially do it through people you respect and trust, that's a really nice shortcut there to save your time and have a better shot of connecting with somebody of quality. One thing that I was
Absolutely.
thinking in line with, another, I'd say, not necessarily a secret, but something that contributed to my success, and it's not sexy, but it sure does work. And I mentioned this at the beginning in my intro, was I read a book in 2021 called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And there's a line in that book that says that we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. And just replace the word systems with habits. If you don't have some positive habits, if you don't build positive habits into your life, then it's random what's going to occur during the day. But if you start building just one positive habit at a time, he calls it habit stacking. You build something in where it just becomes part of your routine, like I did with gratitude. It just gets built into your day. You're not even thinking about it. It's automatically happening. And you do that for one positive habit after another. Say you add one a month. By the end of the year, you've added 12 positive habits, and they're just built into your daily routine. Fast forward 2, 3, 5 years, and you have seen significant personal and professional growth simply because you built in and made it automatic, one positive habit at a time. So Spencer, what you're talking about and what I need to do better job of in the morning, how do I start my day? That needs to be a positive habit where, all right, I can wait to look at that because my phone is my alarm clock. So if I'm going to do it, it's only going to be an alarm clock and I set a time, and that's when I check. Something like that. Building in that positive habit, because I can get sidelined and I get squirreled so easily. Ideas like, oh, my friend there, and the algorithm knows that. They're going to feed you stuff that keeps you stuck to it. So that's that positive habit that I need to build in place of, I'm not going to open it or look at it until this time, and then just stay with it. And then I build that in like I do gratitude and a lot of the other habits that I built in. So the consistency is, what habits do you build in and what habits do you stay with? More importantly, what habits are just automatically part of your day? And if you've got more and more of those that are positive, that are helping you achieve the goals that you have and making progress towards them, you're going to differentiate from the majority. I would say if you go by the Pareto rule of thumb, 80-20 rule, 80% of people have a really hard time sticking with a positive habit. About 20% or fewer do. And if you're in that smaller category of people that are building in positive habits into your life and they're just routine, you are going to be light years ahead of the ones that are still trying to just get the first one to stick. Another proof of that is quitting day. January 1 rolls around, we're going to change the world. And then February 13th, not even 6 weeks later. No, it's January 13th. It's not even 2 weeks. January 13th, 2 weeks later, that's when it just dies right off. Like, I'll get to it next year. That's the majority. That's the 80% we're talking about here, roughly. You
Yeah,
want to be in the 20%?
they literally quit.
Yeah.
They literally quit, right?
Yeah, it's like the thing they were going to start doing. So if you can build
And
that into
again,
your
there's
life and
that
stick
word
with it.
quit, right?
Yeah. If it's a good thing, build it into your life and make it automatic. That's worked well for me, and I need to keep doing that to more things. Spencer, what about you?
Yeah, no, I think so. What do they say? It's 21 days to form a habit.
Yeah.
It's kind of like rule of thumb. Habits are they're not easy. Like it really does
Nope.
take consistency, and it takes mind power to really stick with the things that you want to stick with, and like actually stick with them too. Like not just half-ass it and kind of do it. Like actually stick to it and do it every day and really build those healthy habits. One of the habits that I've got accustomed to building is, and to Roy's point, I've always said for years, one of my mottos is forever a student, right? Roy talks about being a subject matter expert. That's kind of like when I get into marketing, like I wasn't always a marketing expert. Like I knew enough about marketing and kind of like the base level stuff, but when I started really getting into it, I did not want to be on the bottom of the totem pole. I got absolutely obsessed with being an expert in my field. So how did I accomplish that? Well, mentors kind of help you out. But in the marketing realm, there's a lot of, people that don't really want to give up their sauce. It's kind of like they're almost
Yeah.
like the gatekeepers, and they're almost like the Wizard of Oz of all their secrets and, all of that stuff. And it's unfortunate because my mindset is like, I'd rather, build someone up and let them know like what I'm doing so they can kind of, build themselves up, themselves. But, for me, like one of my habits that I had built, with that forever student motto is, when I had, some time to maybe, hop on Netflix or, watch stuff on Instagram or TikTok or what have you, instead of doing that, I would do a lot of self-studying. Right? Like I would go on YouTube University and, just search for specific types of problems, right? Like, how to effectively run ads, right? And then you kind of grab your, 5 to 10 videos that you think, this person looks credible, they have some good advice, and then just take little nuggets, right? And then test them. So that's something that I've been doing for the past 7 years, within this industry of marketing, and it's nonstop. I am always looking for videos, for blogs, for ways to teach myself certain things, so that way I can go back and I can deliver a better product. So I think that's something that people should keep in mind, as they, maybe get lost in the sauce, right? Like they get lost in their day to day and their routine, and they forget that like education doesn't stop. Like just because you graduated, with a master's degree or this happened, like the education does not stop because the world keeps growing and the world keeps evolving. So, you should really make it a priority to continue that education and figure out, like build that habit, but do it in a smart way that fits you, right? Like, are you an audiobook person? Is that easier for you to, pick up and retain information? Are you more of a visual person? Do you need to see stuff? Are you more of a hands-on, like in person, right? Really mold it to you, but don't stop. Be insatiable, be, super motivated to always teach yourself and always like gain that edge.
Man, love it, Spencer. I think my next big nugget to secret for success for 2025 is a lot of people don't talk to people, right? They just don't communicate. Um, they don't reach out and say hello. They don't smile at other people like when you're walking and you see people walking, like just smile and then they'll smile back at you. So how do you do that? How do you learn how to do that? And one of the biggest things, and it's very, very, this is a huge nugget, man. This is very inexpensive. It's almost like, I feel like it's free. It's called Toastmasters. They're all over the United States of America. And you can go and join or just go to Toastmasters. And it's a place that people learn how to speak. They learn how to speak with body language. They learn how to represent themselves, anything, whether it's a job interview or whether it's networking, whether it's you're shy and you just can't get out of a corner. They teach you how, and it's unbelievable, even for super successful people. And I'm talking super successful people still go. Like, they actually still go to this. Like, because I went, the first time I ever went, there was a professional baseball player there. There was a professional hockey player there. There was people from Africa there that could hardly speak English. There was people from China. It was all walks of life, and everybody's there never to like give you. They're there to give you pointers. They're never there to make you feel uncomfortable. It's a place that really is that amazing, and when I mean like it's not that much money. I mean it's like $10 or something to go. It's crazy, but and if you keep on going, right? If you keep on going and have it like every single week, it's going to give you these unbelievable things that are going to start getting you out there, right? Because the most important thing is just continuing to meet people, right? Continuing to learn. And the other thing is, I never want anybody to think that you can't learn something from somebody. It doesn't matter what level they're on, right? Doesn't matter if they're younger, doesn't matter if they're older. Doesn't matter if they are a minimum wage person or they're a CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. I can promise you there's certain things that people like, right? And then they actually do. They become like SMEs on it. So one guy may be the best at gaming or a certain game, but that guy could run circles around and give you information on that. Another guy could be a skateboard. Another guy could be, a football analytics guy, or a hockey analytics guy, or another one could study nature. I mean, there's so many different things. You can always learn from anybody and everybody. You can constantly learn. And I think one of the biggest things that I'll leave you with is, I'll never forget, I was running a company. We had, I just started running this company. So I was getting introduced to like almost 40 employees. And I brought everybody in the room and I asked them, I asked everybody, I said, give me advice from everybody. And I'm the one running it, but I said, give me advice on how we can become bigger, stronger, better. And it was a guy that was literally the janitorial guy. And he spoke up and he started talking. And I'm like, this guy is like the maintenance janitorial guy. Like he's cleaning things. And he had things in his head that literally we put in place and we started crushing it. Like the things that were coming out of his mouth were making me, like my mouth drop. And this guy's making minimum wage, right? He's making minimum wage. And next thing you know, he ain't making minimum wage no more. Like he was just, he needed to be found, right? He needed to speak up, and he spoke up. And next thing you know, everybody's looking at him and was like, wow, that's a really good idea. And then we started putting these ideas in place, and like you said, it changes everything. So that's the other thing that you got to remember is anything can change. Just be open to meeting people, right? And be open to learning and be open to talking to people. I think nowadays what truly scares me about the new generation is they're missing or they're losing the true communication skills of human to human contact, right? They're obsessed with like looking at their phone or putting their head in a computer or like you said, social media or anything but that human to human connection. And nothing can, AI will never, like, let's go into AI. It will never replace a person. AI, just always remember this, artificial intelligence, AI can't have a baby. They can't produce another one, right? Only a human can do that. And I just came back from an AI conference that talked about this. So you're never going to replace a human. It's impossible, right? So in that human to human connection is so important in gaining success. No matter what age you are. It's just unbelievable. I met here at the conference an 8-year-old girl that's doing 2 podcasts. She has 2 podcasts. She's 8 years old.
Wow.
I'm like, wow, 8 years old and she's doing 2 podcasts. I mean, you talk about unbelievable. I'm like, wow. Is this like Guinness World Record book stuff? Because I've never heard an 8-year-old girl doing 2 pods. She has 2 podcasts that she does. Consistency, like on a weekly basis. I'm like, wow. So it's just amazing. All right, John, I'll turn it over to you, buddy. We got 12 more minutes.
Yeah, so if anybody does have questions, by all means, put it in the chat. We'd love to answer those for you in these last few minutes that we've got here. Another thing is that we're going to be doing this every single week, noon Eastern Standard Time. Ideally, all 3 of us are going to be able to join in the conversation. Like Roy might be at a conference, like Spencer might be in his very cool Cybertruck with an awesome wrap. And he might be in there tuning in. I might be in my vehicle, and I can't make it back to my office to do the live. But you know what? It's the conversation that matters to us, of this synergy that happens when you're with entrepreneurial, like-minded people. So if you can tune in and join us, by all means do that, because this is something we want to do every week. We know it's going to be valuable for us as we go through these things. It reminds us of what our top priorities. Just because they might be built into our lives doesn't mean that we shouldn't be reminded of them from time to time. It's good to refresh like that. And then we want to encourage people that are tuning in. We know that the entrepreneurial journey, hey, that doesn't mean that we've arrived. Heck no. We're still figuring it out as we go. We're just farther down the road than where we started. And that's what we want to share with people are those encouraging insights that it is a journey. And what's so cool about it is when you're around entrepreneurs, they're always thinking of something else. They're never done. Even if when they accomplish their 12th inch goal, they don't just stop there. Now it's time for another one. So they are always learning and growing on something, some new adventure. You're never going to be around truly entrepreneurial people and then be like, can't believe where you're at, because they're probably learning something new. New chapters are exciting for entrepreneurs. They want to take an idea and grow the thing, grow it's a business or an idea or an app or whatever it might be. So when you're around that kind of creative energy, there aren't people that are looking down at you. They're genuinely curious. You'll find when you're around true entrepreneurs, they're always asking questions. So here's what I'd say in relation to what you shared, Roy. Perhaps there's this challenge of, I know I should be getting out there, but I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. You know what? I tell people, in particular friends of mine who are somewhat introverted, like, I don't even like to talk to people. I love to hear what they have to share, but I don't want to talk about myself. Totally got it. Here's what you do. You come to every single meeting, you come to with a handful of questions, but well-worded questions. John Maxwell, in his book, Good Leaders Ask Great Questions, said the quality of the answer is dependent upon the quality of the question. The better questions you ask, the better answers you get. Bring just a handful of questions in mind, not like, so what do you do for a living? That's what everybody asks. Instead, say, what do you do for a living, and what was the thing you learned most? What was your most important life lesson you learned in that business? Now there's a game changer because you're asking a question that goes deeper than most. Or, what's the thing you're most proud of that you accomplished this year? You don't even ask about what they do. That'll come a little bit later. Or maybe, if there was one thing you could do differently from where you started to where you are now, what would that one thing be? Just a handful of questions. You're going to find people are going to be blown away by this, for one, because you're not asking, so what do you do for a living? So where do you live? So what's your family like? Those things can be good. But when you're asking questions that are different than anybody else asks, you automatically differentiate yourself from the majority of the people in the room. And it shows you're genuinely curious. And then when they start answering those questions, just think about another question to ask about the information they just shared with you. The conversation flies. And if it's a great conversation with somebody that loves to share with curious people, the time will go by in no time at all. They're carrying the conversation. You're learning a ton. And all it took was a handful of well-worded questions you bring in the room with you that probably nobody else is asking. I guarantee you, especially if you're introverted and you're like, I don't know what to say or what to do, hey, don't talk about yourself. Ask about them. And eventually they'll ask about you too if they're genuinely curious people. And if they're not, hey, you were able to fill your time, learn about somebody. It's a great way to get through and connect with people, especially if you're not sure what to say or where to start. Ask great questions and come in with them in your mind already so you're not fumbling like, what do I say? What do I ask them? It's to have a handful that you always ask. I guarantee you'll get some great answers, and you'll get some people that will be genuinely interested in you because you asked questions that showed genuine interest in them. So, Spencer, take it away from here. You can keep on this theme. You can throw out your own nugget. I'm curious to see where you're going to go.
Yeah, no, I want to touch on yours really quick because a light bulb went off like as you were speaking. You know how like we anytime you're looking to do something within your business or just in general, right? We call it brainstorming. You're sitting down, you're putting down ideas and stuff like this. But I came across, I forgot if it was a book or if it was a podcast that I listened to. But it's called Q storming. So instead of like sitting there and writing down all of your like ideas or whatever, it's more so like writing down questions, right? And just continue to, instead of like brainstorming with ideas, it's just all questions, right? So, write down the first question and then like, think of the next question, right? Because when you ask the right questions and you're putting down the right questions, you start to get the necessary data and information that you need to answer that question, right? So that that's what we seek. And as you were speaking, I'm like, man, I got to go back to practicing that again. Let me go to the whiteboard and start Q storming. But one of the things that I kind of wanted to leave everybody off with, Roy had mentioned it early on in our discussion, and so did you, John, was social proof. And one of the things that that I speak about with clients from a marketing perspective is it is so important to have social proof. Like
Yes.
sometimes like that social proof is all people need to see to really sell for you, right? Like if you have all these reviews and all these testimonials and all these case studies of, you know, the beautiful work and successful work that you do, you need to highlight that first and foremost. And if you're not asking for that type of stuff, not a lot of people are really going to leave it, right? Like, you know, think about, you know, who actually goes out of their way to leave reviews. It's more often than not, it's the people that are pissed off and are unhappy, right? I'm going to
True.
leave a Yelp review. You know, I saw it in the healthcare field, right? Like I was the director of marketing for an orthopedic group with 9 offices, right? And before I got in there, they had like 2-star reviews, 3-star reviews on average, and they like didn't have a lot of reviews. You know why? Because the only people leaving a review pissed off patients, right? So, you know, what did I do? I built out a whole automated system to ask people actively for, you know, reviews and testimonials, you know, a couple
Yep.
different times. And what happened? Got all of their offices like in the 4-star range, 4.5-star range, and
Nice.
hundreds and hundreds of reviews that, you know,
Yep.
not only from an SEO perspective does that like, you know, severely increase
Yeah.
their brand image and just searchability and all of that, because, you know, Google really, you know, favors reviews. But now they just look overall like just way better. You know, are you going to click on a medical office and see like 10 reviews and they're all terrible reviews and trust them? No, you know, but now you see 4.5 stars and you see hundreds of reviews and people leaving, you know,
Yep.
beautiful words. You know, that goes a long way. So, you know, business owners, entrepreneurs, like anybody that's, you know, trying to create something for themselves, like really have that in mind with the social proof and making it one of your priorities, especially in the beginning of your business, to seek out. You know, it's hard to get reviews. I had to ask my mom 10 times before she left a review for one of my businesses. That's just how it is, and that's my mom, right? So just imagine Joe Schmo, you know, or like one of your clients or customers, you know, how they're going to react, right? So it's just, you know, it's very important to do that, and that's kind of, you know, one of the little tips that I want to leave people with, you know, on this call.
Good tip. Roy, turn it back to you to close things off. We got like 2 or 3 minutes left before our session's done. I think my keyword's Q storming. I'm going to put that and make sure that I'm weekly sharing that social proof of testimonials and reviews. But I'll turn it back to you, Roy, so you can close us out. Maybe what's your word of the day, and then anything else that's on your mind.
I think my word of the day, and again, I'm at Podfest, is it's okay to be different. Okay to be different. Like, it's okay. Just be authentic. Like, be
Yeah.
yourself. Be, like, don't be fake. Be yourself. I mean, it's talking about, like you said, proof of who you are. Just be who you are, right? Everybody's different. Everybody's different. I graduated high school with a 4th grade reading level. I never went to college. I learned differently than other people. And you know what? I embraced it and I made myself successful. So just embrace being different. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter where you came from, it doesn't matter how much you know. It's just the willingness to learn and grow is so important, right? And know that anything is capable. We live in the best place in the world, America, right? And anything is capable of happening. And I think, you know, before I kick it off, the next nugget is just push out the noise, right? Push out the noise. Anything that you cannot in your entire life control, right? If you can't control it, if it's not in your business, if it's not in your family or your friends, push it out. I don't watch the news. I'm just being honest with you. I don't watch what's going on. It's all negative. It's really pay attention to the things that you can control in your life and be around people that have positive energy. That's the most important thing. Like, I mean, I even hear a podcast, somebody's talking negative about something, I just walk away from them. I don't care. I just walk away. I was like, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to. I don't want to hear about bombs dropping. Like, I'm here to learn and grow. So I'm just, you know, that's what I'd leave you. I can't wait till next week. I love doing this. John, um, I'll kick it off to you guys to say goodbye. But yeah,
Yeah, so follow me on LinkedIn, John D. Hanson. If you want to connect, by all means do that too. I love to connect with entrepreneurial, growth-minded people. Look forward to the next one. I'll be at a conference next week, so I'll be finding a quieter space so I can tune in like Roy did today. So, Spencer, to you to close things out.
Yeah, you can follow me on LinkedIn, connect with me, ask any questions, and what I think I'm going to do as well, like on my end, guys, is start putting out some polls, right? So people can kind of give us some feedback and some data on what questions that they need answered. Because as we start to get really granular with these tips and these success tips, that's what people really appreciate. And I think the audience, the more they chime in and let us know what they want us to talk about, I think that'll be great. So,
excellent idea, love it. All right, guys, I'll see you next week.
yep. Take care.
Have a great one, guys.